So, ladies and gentlemen, before our next dance item, we have another very special guest with us here this evening. We'll be delivering a Diwali message. So please join me in now welcoming the Honorable S. Govender, member of the KZN Legislature. Ladies and gentlemen, the Honorable Les Govender.
Thank you very much, the program director. Vanakkam, namaste, namaskaram, and good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Your Excellency, the Consul General of India in Durban, Dr. Thelma John David. Thank you, ma'am, for joining us on this wonderful occasion. I want to also recognize the presence of the Honorable Shamin Thakur Rajvansi, my colleague in the KZN Legislature, and the number of community activists that I see amongst us, leaders in the religious as well as the cultural institutions in our community. The Pandit that opened the event in prayer, thank you, sir, for that. We appreciate that. Ladies and gentlemen, firstly, allow me to thank the South African Hindu Dharma Sabha for not only hosting this event every year, but for the wonderful work that they have been doing for decades in upholding and promoting Hinduism and the cultural values that we have. Sometimes we tend to forget the long hours of planning, the meetings, and the time that they spend away from their families. And tonight I want to acknowledge the family members of the executive committee as well as those that support them. Mr. Ram Maharaj and your team in the executive committee, I want to thank you very much for the excellent work that you do and continue to do. May you be guided by our Lord and have the strength and the courage to continue with your good work. Professor Chandru Kiston, I want to thank you, sir, for firstly being my lecturer in the university and for imparting your knowledge and wisdom to us. Thank you very much for that. We sometimes forget to say thank you to those that encouraged us along our journey in life. Ladies and gentlemen, I bring you greetings from the President of the Inkatha Freedom Party, the Honorable V.F. Slabisa, and members of the executive committee of our party. The Honorable Mr. Naren Singh was supposed to be here, but he is at a different engagement in Amzinto this afternoon, so he conveys his good wishes also. The founder of the Inkatha Freedom Party, it makes it difficult for me to say the late Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi, when he addressed a Deepavali celebration a few years ago, he had some very, very important words that he shared, and I want to just quote from him on that day. He said, "Through many good friendships, I've had the privilege of experiencing the heart of the Indian community. I know the value that you place on family and how deeply connected you are to the cultural identity. This is something I understand, for it resonates with my own value system. I know, therefore, what has been achieved and what can be achieved by the Indian community. You are making invaluable contribution to social justice, to the strengthening of democracy, to growing the economy and building our nation. To me, there is no such thing as the Zulu destiny, or the Indian destiny, or the white destiny. We all have one destiny. We share a common fate," unquote. It reminds me of what the Consul General of India spoke about earlier, Vasudeva Kudumbakam. we are one nation, and we have one destiny. Friends, on an annual basis, we gather to celebrate as a community, as families, and as friends, this wonderful festival, which we call the Festival of Light, the victory of light over darkness. The celebration of Diwali, ladies and gentlemen, is not only about sweetmeats, new clothes, good food, and fireworks. The story in the Ramayana has some wonderful words of wisdom and moral values that we so deeply need these days. And I'll just touch on 4. We find very often that many young people have lost their respect for parents. Now you might think, now what has this got to do with the Ramayana and Diwali? One will remember that when Lord Ram was banished by his father to spend 14 years in the forest, he did not argue with his father. He did not say, why are you sending me, your child, into the forest when I can live in a palace? But he obeyed what his father directed him to do. The respect that he had for his father showed in the way he responded. And he agreed to go and live in the forest because that was his father's direction. That is something that we need to impart to our children. The respect that they need to have for their parents and the elders within their families. The second message that is there in the story of Diwali is Lord Lakshman. When his brother was banished into the forest, he did not say, well, I will stay in the palace and I will enjoy everything good and probably take his place. He said, no, I will join my brother in the forest and I will serve him. How often, ladies and gentlemen, do we hear of children fighting each other, arguing with each other over family wealth and other little things? But here in the story of Diwali is the message of siblings working together, supporting each other for the better good. The next message that I want to touch on is the message of loyalty. When Lord Ram was going to go into battle, Lord Hanuman went with him, stood by him to fight with him, to fight over the evil that had come into their midst. That is the kind of loyalty that we need to see amongst all of us, supporting each other, supporting the Dharma Sabha, and ensuring that as a nation, as a cultural group, we continue to grow. And the last one that I want to touch on is unity in action to overcome evil. You'll remember from the story that when Lord Ram went into the forest, it was just a few of them that accompanied him. But when the battle time came, when they had to fight over the evil king in Lanka, all of his supporters united behind him. And that is how they achieved victory. Unity in action will overcome. And my message to you today is that our country is facing many challenges. And there's no point in us sitting at home and complaining. There has to be unity in action. As members of our community, as members of this country, we need to do whatever it takes to ensure that our country is put back on the right path. I don't want to go into the number of ills that are facing our communities. But I'm reminded of what Dr. Kristen said earlier, that on the darkest night, people came out in their numbers and lit little clay lamps. The little clay lamp that you have, ladies and gentlemen, in this time of darkness is the power of your vote. And next year, I will want to implore every one of you that are eligible to vote to go out and vote and bring about the change that we want to see in our country for the generations to come. If we don't do that, history will judge us badly, because we have the power of the vote to make a change in our country, and we must do that. Ladies and gentlemen, in conclusion, I want to wish all of you a very happy and peaceful Diwali. Take care of yourselves as you celebrate. Don't eat too much. Enjoy the sweetmeats, but remember your health also. And I want to also say, you have pets at home or your neighbors have pets, please celebrate responsibly. As we welcome the Springboks into our city and into our country, we want to congratulate them on that fantastic win against all odds. But we have a serious problem, ladies and gentlemen. Tomorrow, in the cricket world stage, South Africa and India. Your Excellency, I'm not going to ask you which team you are supporting. Ladies and gentlemen, all I want to leave you with is, whichever team you are supporting, may your team win. Thank you very much for listening to me, and do have a good evening. Thank you.
Thank you for those enlightening words. Ladies and gentlemen, the Honorable Les Govender.